"Sir, you need to stop right there." His voice cut across the lobby like a warning siren. I barely glanced up from the clipboard I was carrying. Elevator was 20 steps ahead. Tools clinked in the bag slung over my shoulder. Boots tracked in yesterday's dust. "Can I help you?" he asked, stepping in front of me. I finally looked at him. Young, maybe 22, skin like winter glass. Uniform crisp, like he'd just graduated from a power trip. "I'm headed to 18, I said. "Leak in the west hallway ceiling." He looked me up and down. I reached for my badge clipped under my coat, flashed it. "Isaiah Boone, Facilities." He squinted at it like it was counterfeit. "You got any paperwork?" "Nope, call-in job, routine." He didn't move. "You can radio it in," I offered. He tilted his head. "I've never seen you before." I let out a small breath. "Been working this building for 18 years. He raised an eyebrow. "Doing what, exactly?" "Cleaning, fixing, sometimes listening to the sound of silence when folks pretend I'm not here." He stiffened. "I'm just doing my job, and I'm trying to do mine." He took a half step closer. "You don't belong upstairs without clearance." "I don't need clearance to fix a pipe." His jaw twitched. "I'm going to have to ask you to wait here." I dropped the clipboard gently onto the security desk. "Son," I said, "I've been in this building longer than you've been shaving. That badge says I've earned the right to walk up those stairs without being stopped like I'm about to steal a stapler." His face flushed. "You people always say that." Silence. I heard it. The words echoed, loud, sharp. He blinked, suddenly aware I meant. He started. I raised a hand. "I know exactly what you meant." He stepped back like my calm scared him more than if I'd yelled. Footsteps clicked against marble. He turned, relieved. Rachel. Hair tied up in a tight bun, her heels more confident than her smile. "Problem here?" she asked, glancing at me like I'd tracked mud into a living room. "He doesn't have authorization," Damon said quickly. "Won't give me clearance. No paperwork." Rachel turned to me. "You with janitorial maintenance?" She nodded like it was all the same. "We've had thefts lately, you understand." "No, I don't." Her smile twitched. "Protocol, Mr. Boone." "Well, Mr. Boone, I'm going to have to ask you to wait outside while we verify." "I don't wait outside. I work inside." She crossed her arms. "You're being difficult." "I'm being disrespected." Damon shifted uncomfortably. Rachel glanced at him. "Escort him out, please." He hesitated. "You sure I don't need a repeat of last week?" I stared at her. "You know what happened last week?" She blinked. "Frank, your plumber, cut into a live wire. Nearly lost a hand. I was the one who shut the breaker." Her lips parted. I turned to Damon. "You can call building ops. Ask for Leroy. He'll vouch." He looked unsure. "Unless you'd rather drag me out for trying to stop a flood on 18. Rachel stepped back. "We're not dragging anyone, Damon." "Just ma'am," I said, my voice flat. "You already gave the order." He picked up the radio. His hands were shaking. I turned slowly, walked to the bench by the wall, and sat down. Tool bag beside me, clipboard in my lap, watching people walk past me. Some stared, some looked away. No one asked if I was okay. I glanced at the plaque on the wall. Boone Corporate Tower, EST, 1995. My father's name, still etched there in gold. No one ever noticed. Damon got off the radio. He walked over, awkward. "Ops says Mr. Boone has full access." Rachel paled. They said that." I stood, my knees cracked. "Been a long morning already. You can keep your sorry." "I don't need it," I said quietly. Rachel's voice dropped, nervous now. "Why didn't you just say you had clearance?" I met her eyes. "Because I wanted to see how far you'd go." Luis was already on the folding chair when I stepped into the utility room. Fan blowing, coffee steaming in a chipped mug that said retired but rehired. He didn't look up. "Heard you almost got arrested for trying to fix a leak." I dropped my tool bag by the wall. "You heard fast," he grinned, sipping this place. "Nothing travels faster than bad news about a black man minding his business." I didn't laugh. Luis looked over. "You all right?" "No." He waited quietly like he knew what was coming and wanted me to have room to say it. "They don't see me, man," I finally said. "Just my skin and my silence." Luis set the cup down. "That new guard, Damon?" I nodded. He shrugged. "They're all the same at first." "No." He looked me in the face and decided I was a problem before I even spoke. "That's what they're taught. If he doesn't fit the mold, stop him." I shook my head. "No, that ain't training. That's comfort." He was comfortable disrespecting me. He leaned back. "You told M who you were." "I didn't want to." "Why not?" "Because I shouldn't have to." He raised both hands. "True." I leaned against the sink. Rachel stood there like she was doing me a favor just by speaking civil. Same Rachel who sends you Christmas cards. The one. Soon as Damon got nervous, she put on that fake HR tone. "Said they've had thefts lately." Luis chuckled. "Yeah, my mop bucket probably looks suspicious too." I didn't smile. Luis went quiet again. Then, softly, "How many times?" Now I stared at the wall. Too many times someone looked me up and down and decided I needed watching, or walking out." He nodded. "Happened to me last month. Elevator full of suits. I step in. One of M clutches her purse, like I asked to hold it. I looked at him. "You laugh about it. If I don't laugh, I'll scream." I pushed off the sink. You ever get tired of laughing? His smile faltered. I do, I said. I'm tired, Luis. Tired of nodding and saying I understand. Tired of pretending it. Don't cut deep every time someone calls me boy with their eyes. Luis sighed. You think silence is strength. It used to be. Now, it feels like cowardice. He leaned forward. So what you gonna do? I don't know, but I'm done pretending it doesn't bother me. I ain't swallowing it anymore just to keep the peace. Peace never kept you. I turned toward him. You ever think maybe we're part of the problem? All these years, smiling, nodding, not making waves. He shook his head. We survived. That's what we did. I didn't come here to survive. Luis, my father didn't clean this place to his bones just so I could still be mistaken for someone worth less than a mop. Luis stared at me. That ain't who you are. I know what they think I am. His eyes dropped. Yeah, I rubbed my face. You remember Curtis? Worked here in '08? He nodded. Short dude. Always wore his cap backwards. Got pulled into a broom closet by a guard who thought he stole something just because he was carrying a laptop box. Luis whispered. That was his last day. I nodded. He never came back. And we let it happen. We didn't know the story. We didn't ask. Silence, except the hum of the old fan. Luis finally said, what happened this morning? It's different now. You're not just some guy pushing a mop. I never was, I said. They just chose not to see me. Luis leaned back again. So what? Now, I looked at my hands. These hands that had scrubbed floors, rewired panels, carried this building on muscle and patience. Now, I said. Now I stopped letting them speak first. The boardroom was glass and marble. Bright lights, brighter egos. 8 of them sat around the long polished table, suited caffeinated board. None of them looked up when I walked in. Rachel noticed first. Mr. Boone. I think facilities meets. Downstairs I kept walking toward the head chair, set my folder down, sat. That got their attention. A balding man 2 seats down raised an eyebrow. Sir, you're in the wrong meeting. No, I said. I asked you all here to discuss renovations. That got a chuckle. Graham, the CEO, leaned back with his arms crossed. Renovations for a janitor. A woman at the far end smirked. Is this a presentation? No slides, I said. Just changes, Graham scoffed. Look, I appreciate the initiative, but janitorial upgrades don't require full board meetings. I'm not here about mops or soap orders, Rachel frowned. Then what are you here for? Access control, I said. Emergency systems. Lobby protocol. The smirks died down. I opened the folder. Elevator badge logs show repeated. Unauthorized scans from floor 18. Your security policies haven't been updated since 2017, and someone keyed the side stairwell door again. Graham looked confused. Who are you exactly? I looked right at him. The person who signed your lease renewals last quarter. Dead silence. Rachel laughed once. It sounded nervous. You're bluffing. I slid a printed document across the table. Boone Holdings. Graham read slowly. Primary leaseholder. Property title transfer. That's not possible. It's public record, I said. 4 years ago, after your last landlord defaulted on tax liens, a man near the end leaned forward. Why would you still be cleaning? I shrugged. Because sometimes the best way to see what people are made of is to let them show you. Rachel's voice was a whisper. Why didn't you tell us? You never asked. Graham looked rattled. So this meeting was to flex on us? No, it was to clarify who's been holding the keys. He swallowed hard. And if we refuse your proposals, I met his stare. You'll need new office space by the end of the month. The woman who smirked earlier leaned in. You can't just. I can. Section 4.3 of your lease. Behavioral ethics clause. Gross misconduct. Disrespect toward building management. Rachel blinked. You mean you? I mean me? A long, heavy pause. They all sat there confused, red-faced, exposed. I stood. You assumed janitor meant invisible, meant powerless, I said. You forgot power doesn't always dress in a suit. I picked up the folder, tucked it under my arm. Graham finally whispered, you've been watching us. No, I said, heading for the door. You've been watching yourselves. She cleaned for a man who owns the building, Damon said, laughing. I stopped at the lounge doorway, just out of view. His voice was too loud, too comfortable. Rachel's tone was softer, but no less cutting. He played all of us. I mean, who does that? Scrubs baseboards like he's broke. Damon snorted. Bet he enjoyed watching us squirm in that meeting. She lowered her voice. Honestly, I still don't buy it. Right, maybe he thinks he owns the place. I mean, has anyone seen the papers? I stepped inside. They froze. Rachel stood. Abruptly. Damon stared like a kid caught with a stolen answer sheet. Morning, I said calmly. Didn't mean to interrupt the reenactment of your own ignorance. Rachel fumbled for a smile. Mr. Boone, I walked to the coffee machine, poured slowly. Let the silence stretch. Damon finally spoke. So, it was all a game. I turned to him. A game. He shrugged, defensive. You pretended to be someone you weren't. No, I said. I was who I am. You just assumed who I wasn't. Rachel took a step forward. But you let us treat you like less I offered. You volunteered that part. You could have said something. Why should I explain my worth to you? Rachel's eyes widened. We didn't mean anything by it. We just didn't know. I faced her. And if I had told you on day one, what would have changed? She hesitated. You'd have smiled fake, I said. Called me sir, but still whispered after I left, maybe even warned HR I was acting different. Damon folded his arms. You wanted this, the drama, the gotcha moment. No, I said. I wanted peace, but y'all handed me performance, he scoffed. So now what? You gloat. I leaned against the counter. You think this is revenge? Feels like it. I chuckled once. Then your guilt's louder. Then I thought. Rachel bit her lip. We didn't mean any harm. No, you meant comfort. You meant convenience. That's the harm. She sat on the edge of the couch, suddenly small. I've worked here 15 years, she said softly. So have I. She looked up. The difference is, I continued, I remember your name before you knew mine. Damon muttered. You just sat there watching, judging. No, I was hoping that maybe one day you'd meet me without needing to be told who I was. He rubbed his face. Look, I messed up. Yeah. He looked up, eyes glassy. I'm sorry, man. I stared at him. You're not sorry. You're surprised. That landed. I'm not the one who needs convincing, I added. Then who does? You, he swallowed. Rachel whispered. Why did you keep working maintenance if you owned it all? Because when you start from the bottom, you remember who cleans up after power. She nodded, eyes down. I stood, finished my coffee, dropped the cup in the bin. I don't need apologies, I said. I need awareness. They were quiet. I paused at the door. Oh, and for what it's worth, I added, pretending to respect someone just to keep your job. That's still disrespect. Neither of them responded. As I walked away, I heard Damon mutter behind me, just barely audible. He's not who I thought he was. And Rachel, she whispered back, he's not who any of us thought. The email came with no subject line, no message, just a PDF attached. I opened it on my phone. 5 pages, screenshots thread after thread between mid-level staff, Rachel, Damon, a few names I didn't even recognize, all company accounts. Hope the mop boy doesn't expect a tip sheet. VE made him wear a leash. He keeps wandering into meetings. Do we need a background check on janitors now or just a whip? I stared at the screen, no anger, just a slow, nauseating silence settling in my chest. The door to HR was already open when I got there. I didn't knock. 3 of them, the director Linda, a legal advisor I hadn't seen before, and Maya the intern who hadn't spoken a word in 4 weeks. Linda looked up. Mr. Boone, I read it, I said. The legal rep stood. We were just reviewing that ourselves, don't bother. I printed copies. I dropped the stack on the table. Linda smoothed her blazer. We take these things very seriously, I said. Good. Then you'll have no issue naming every person on that email chain in your report. She hesitated. The legal rep cleared his throat. There's a path forward here, one that keeps the building's reputation intact and ensures you're fairly compensated. Compensated, he nodded. We'd like to settle this quietly. I stared at him. You think my silence is for sale? Linda cut in. It's not about buying anything, it's about resolution. I folded my hands. You want resolution? Start with accountability. We can't fire everyone involved, she said carefully. Why not? Legal risk, retaliation claims, and public embarrassment. I finished for her. She flinched. The lawyer slid a folder toward me. This includes a formal apology, a 6-figure settlement, and if you choose to accept, your name will be listed as a diversity consultant going forward. I didn't touch the folder. You want to make me your mascot, I said. Linda frowned. That's not fair. What's not fair is being mocked by the people I paid to be here. No one spoke. I leaned forward. My silence has never been peace. It's been your comfort. But comfort ends today. The lawyer cleared his throat again. With respect, sir, this is best for everyone. I looked him dead in the eye. No, just best for you. Linda's voice wavered. What do you want? I want the names on that thread reported. I want policy changes. I want acknowledgement, not just of me, but of every invisible hand that built this place. She looked like she'd swallowed glass. That's a lot to ask. I stood, not compared to what you asked of me. I turned to leave, but paused by the door. Keep the check. Behind me, the silence grew loud. Later in the hallway, I heard a whisper, Mr. Boone. I turned. Maya stood, half hiding behind a filing cabinet. Her ID badge twisted nervously in her fingers. You sent it? I said softly. She nodded once. I walked toward her. I didn't do it for praise, she said quickly. I just couldn't read that and do nothing. I looked at her, quiet, small, barely noticed by anyone in that office. You did more than they ever did, I said. She looked down. They're gonna hate me. They already did, I said gently. You just stopped letting them pretend otherwise. Her eyes welled. Thank you for not letting it die in that room. I nodded once. Thank you for reminding me I wasn't crazy. She smiled, a fragile, grateful thing. As I walked away, I realized something. This fight wasn't about a title or a chair in a boardroom. It was about truth finally being louder than their comfort. The conference room had been converted, tables rearranged into a tribunal-style setup. A small nameplate read Internal Ethics Review, but everyone knew what it really was: damage control. The HR panel sat at the front, Linda, 2 external consultants, and someone from legal. Behind them, rows of staff-lined folding chairs, whispers rising and falling like static. I stepped up to the table. Linda spoke first. We're here to address a series of incidents involving discriminatory conduct, language, and denial of access. Mr. Boone, please proceed. I looked around the room. Rachel refused to meet my eyes. Damon sat rigid, lips pressed thin. I began. When I walked into this building 3 weeks ago, I was stopped at the front desk, denied entry, asked for proof. I existed. One of the consultants leaned forward. And your position? I didn't blink. I own the building. Gasps. One person coughed into their hand. Another shifted in their seat. I continued. I called a meeting that same week. Some of you laughed when I sat at the head of the table. Others waited to see if it was a prank. Damon's foot tapped under the table. Rachel scratched something invisible on her notepad. Later emails were uncovered. I said, jokes, slurs, comparisons to animals. They didn't mark my work, they marked my existence. Linda nodded. We've reviewed those emails. You may step back for now. I returned to my seat. Rachel was called next. She straightened her blazer, smiled tightly, and walked forward. I want to be clear, she began. Nothing I said was intended to be harmful. Property man, that was a nickname people used, a kind of shorthand. A consultant raised a hand. Did you or did you not refer to him as property man in multiple emails? Rachel hesitated. Yes, but it was a joke. Was denying him access also a joke? That wasn't me, that was security. Yet you were present, the legal rep said flatly. You advised removing him from the premises, Rachel stammered. I didn't know he was the owner. The consultant didn't flinch. So racism depends on title. Rachel's lips parted but no sound came out. Next, Damon. He walked forward like someone headed into a storm. Sweat bloomed under his collar. I don't have a bias, he started. I treat everyone the same, except you didn't. Someone from the panel said. Damon blinked. I was following protocol, and when he told you he was here for work, I didn't believe him. Why? Damon faltered. He didn't look like he belonged here. The room stiffened. The panelist leaned in. Say that again. I thought he was a janitor. We've had trespassers before. I stood. I was wearing my ID badge, clear as day. Damon looked at me, voice cracking. I made a mistake. No, I said quietly. You made a decision. A ripple passed through the crowd. Rachel jumped in from her seat. He didn't mean harm. The consultant raised a hand. You are not to speak again unless called. She shrank back. Another panelist looked down at the file. Ms. Rachel, were you aware of the email threads in real time? No, she said too fast. Well, maybe. I skim things. You replied LMAO to one. Silence. My heart thudded. Once, not in fear but in clarity, another consultant asked, Mr. Boone, is there anything further you wish to say? I nodded and stepped forward again. There's a pattern here, not just jokes, but the assumption that I belonged on the floor, not the board, that I cleaned rooms, not leased them. I paused. I didn't correct you right away, because I wanted to see how far you'd go when you thought I couldn't fight back. A murmur. I've been black a long time, I said, but in this building, that meant being invisible, or suspicious, or someone to be escorted out. No one laughed now. Today isn't about me owning a building. It's about you realizing the people you overlook see everything. And now so do you. I stepped back. Linda took a breath. We will review this testimony and issue a formal statement within 24 hours. The hearing adjourned. But no one moved. People stared not at me, but at them. Rachel wiped her face with a trembling hand. Damon looked like he wanted to disappear. Into his seat. I walked past them both. Neither spoke. They knew better after the hearing. The building felt quieter than usual. Not silent, just emptier, like shame had sucked the air out of the halls. I was in the small lounge, lights off, sitting alone, the kind of space they never pictured me in. No mop, no uniform, just me and a view of the city I owned. The door creaked. I didn't turn. Footsteps. Then a voice I recognized, timid this time. Can I talk to you? I looked over my shoulder. Damon, his eyes were swollen either from stress or crying, maybe both. He stood in the doorway like a child who knew he was in trouble but still hoped someone would hug him anyway. I won't stay long, he said. I nodded once, slow. You came all this way. Might as well speak. He walked in but didn't sit. His fingers tugged at the hem of his shirt. I didn't think you were like one of them. I raised an eyebrow. Them, guys in suits, bosses, owners, power. I turned toward the window again so I could only be poor or invisible. He swallowed. I didn't mean it like that. You did. You just didn't think about it. He paused, then said it, the line I'd been expecting since the day this all began. It wasn't hate, Damon muttered. It was ignorance. I laughed, quiet and sharp. That's what they all say. He sat on the edge of the couch across from me, didn't lean back, didn't relax. I messed up, man. I know I did. He looked down. My job's probably gone, my record stained. I'm going to be known as that racist guard who what? A cut-in stopped a man from entering his own building, referred to him as a problem, let Rachel call him property man, and never flinched. He stared at the floor. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Far as what? Me standing up, speaking back. He opened his mouth, then shut it. His breath trembled. You don't have to forgive me. I don't. He nodded slowly. I just wanted to explain. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. You didn't come to explain. You came to feel better. That landed hard. He wiped his face. I swear, I didn't see it. I didn't see you. I looked straight at him now. No, you saw me just fine. You saw what you wanted to see. A uniform, brown skin, quiet mouth. You didn't see a man. You saw a role. And when I broke it too panicked, his lip twitched. I never hated you. That would have been easier, I said. Hatred's loud, obvious, easy to fight. I stood up, looked down at him, but you erased me with politeness, smiles, security checks. His voice cracked. What am I supposed to do now? Live with it. He looked up, eyes red. That's it. That's more than most people ever get from the ones they harm. We stood in silence. He sniffed. You really don't care if I lose everything, do you? I gave him the truth. I stopped caring what you lose the moment you looked me in the eye and saw a threat instead of a man. He stood too slow, unsteady. A long breath filled his lungs, then left like a sigh of surrender. I guess I deserved that. You did, I said, flat and unflinching. He nodded again, like that would soften the blow. Then he walked out, didn't look back. I sat again, and this time I finally let myself exhale. Not from anger, not from vindication, but from the weight I stopped carrying. Their approval, their recognition, their comfort. I no longer needed any of it. The bench outside the building was old iron arms, wooden planks, always too warm in summer. I'd sat on it for years. Smoking, thinking, watching today. It felt different. Like it finally saw me back. Naya, my granddaughter, climbed up beside me, braids bouncing. Eyes full of something I'd lost and fought to get back. Wonder. She kicked her feet. Mama said you're famous now, I chuckled. Is that what they're saying? She nodded seriously. You were on TikTok. And the news. They said you owned the whole building, but everyone thought you were the janitor. I looked at her, small and bright and free. That's true. She leaned closer. So why didn't you fire them all? I paused. The question landed soft but deep. You mean Damon and the manager? And everyone who laughed or called you names? I let the silence settle. The kind that teaches more than words, because I'd be building another wall. I said finally, not tearing one down. She frowned. But they were mean, yes. And if I had fired them all, they'd go to another building, another job. Still holding the same anger, same blindness, maybe worse. She tilted her head. So you want them to stay? I want them to see, I said. To walk in every day and remember they were wrong and maybe change. Her fingers fiddled with her bracelet. Isn't that hard? Very. She leaned her head on my shoulder. You're strong. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I looked at the glass tower I once cleaned at midnight. The halls I walked invisible. They think strength is yelling, I murmured, or fighting. But strength is knowing when you don't have to. Nia looked up at me. You really own all this. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. No, baby, it owns me. The fight, the silence, the history. She blinked like slavery. I looked at her, this child born into a world my grandfather only dreamed of. Yes, and everything that came after. The looks, the doors that never opened, the rooms where I wasn't welcome until I bought the building they were in. She took that in. You still clean sometimes, don't you? She asked quietly. I laughed. Every Saturday. Why? I looked down at my hands, calloused, worn, unashamed. Because when I mop a floor, no one lies to me. Dirt is dirt. It doesn't pretend. Nia giggled, then quieted. Will I have to fight like you one day? I put my arm around her. I hope not. But if you do, you'll fight smarter, with your voice, with your mind. She leaned into me. What do I get to own? I thought about that, your story, I said. That's your inheritance, not the building. I smiled. That too, but buildings crumble. Stories don't. We sat in silence again. The wind picked up, carrying with it echoes of every name I was ever called, every smirk, every assumption. They didn't haunt me anymore. They built me. You're gonna be just fine, I whispered. I know, she whispered back, and for the first time in my long, quiet life I believed it. The morning air was thick, with memory. Same sidewalk, same revolving door, same cracked tile in front of the entrance. But today, everything was different. Not in the building, but in the way I stepped into it. Damon stood at the front, spine straighter than I'd ever seen it. His uniform looked freshly pressed. His gaze didn't lift. Not to meet mine, not to challenge, not even to pretend he didn't see me. He held the door open. I didn't slow down. Not out of spite. Just purposed out. As I passed him, I noticed the stiffness in his fingers, the way his jaw clenched like he was swallowing something sharp. Maybe shame, maybe just silence. Either way, I didn't offer comfort. That was never my job. Inside, a new security guard stood behind the desk. Young brother, maybe late 20s, bald fade, sharp posture, eyes that noticed everything without making you feel watched. He nodded. "Morning, sir." I nodded back. "Morning." No one blinked. No one questioned. No one asked for an ID. I moved through the lobby like I belonged because I did. The marble floor under my boots had once made me shrink my steps. Now it caught them. The elevator dinged, and I stepped in. Alone. The doors closed, and for the first time in months I let myself breathe. I pressed the button for the top floor and leaned back, watching the numbers climb as they ticked up. So did the memories I remembered the first time I'd ridden this same elevator, mop bucket in hand. Head down, name badge crooked. That ride had felt endless. Like the walls were closing in. Like the higher I went, the smaller I became. Now I was weightless. The elevator stopped on 18, the floor I used to clean most. For a moment I considered stepping off, just to walk the hallway, see if the scuff marks I used to scrub were still there, see if the scent of cheap citrus cleaner still clung to the vents, but I stayed. The elevator resumed, climbing toward the penthouse suite I never imagined would carry my name on the lease. Funny, I'd spent years thinking ownership meant power, money, control. Now I knew better. It meant responsibility, exposure, patience, the strength to let people reveal themselves, and the will to decide what came after. When the elevator chimed again, the doors opened into sunlight pouring through glass walls. The city stretched out like a canvas behind it. Every building, every shadow, every reflection, all part of the world that once tried to convince me I didn't exist inside it. I walked to the window. No applause, no cameras, just the hum of a world moving forward. Behind me I heard the ding of another elevator. Footsteps, soft, careful. I didn't need to turn. I knew who it was. Damon stood at the threshold, holding an envelope. He cleared his throat, but I didn't move. "Mr. Boone," he said, voice thin. I let the silence do the talking. I wanted to deliver this in person. I turned only enough to glance at the envelope. Legal letterhead, HR closure, final paperwork. "Leave it on the desk," I said. He did. I could feel him hesitate, like he wanted to say something else. Apologize, defend, ask for forgiveness. I didn't give him the stage. He turned, and I heard him go. Only when the doors closed again did I walk over and pick up the envelope. I didn't even open it. Not yet. Instead, I pulled the keys from my pocket, the same ones I used when I first started cleaning here. Still attached to the ring I'd worn for 25 years, scratched, bent, familiar. And beside them now, a new keycard, black and silver, access to every door. I looked at both sets for a long moment, then I placed the old keys gently into the drawer of my desk. Not discarded, not forgotten. Just retired. Because sometimes the doors that matter don't require unlocking. Sometimes they just need someone to walk through them unafraid. I sat in the chair at the head of the room, sunlight warming my back, city watching through glass, and I thought, funny thing about keys, you only need them if someone locks the door.